Championship, the home of British motor racing, a good crowd on hand, a packed field of GT1 cars. We are here at Silverstone. The first round took place a couple of weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. All sorts of excitement there, and we know we are in for another exciting round of action this afternoon. My name is Jeremy Shaw. Alongside me, a former three-time winner in Grand Prix racing, also winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, Johnny Herbert. Great to see you here, Johnny, and great to be back at Silverstone on this brand new arena circuit.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Yes, it is. It's great to be back here, and it's great that we have a new racetrack here at Silverstone, and it basically starts that bottom right-hand corner, club corner. It's a little bit longer than it used to be, a little bit more difficult. We then go down the straight, which becomes the new pit complex.
Let's go down to the pit lane and Haley Cox.
James, it's great to see you here. You looking forward to the race?
Yeah, really nice to be here. It's, it's a special place at Silverstone, so very excited.
And any particular brand of car that you'll be looking out for?
I like the Lamborghini, looks great, but the Maserati up there is a pretty car.
And do you own any of the brands on the grid?
I don't, but it's the nice thing about this race is it's brands that are within all of our reaches rather than a Formula One. So I'm excited to see them all at work.
Thank you, James. Enjoy.
Great to see the enthusiasm there, and it's the cars of the stars here in the GT1 World Championship. 6 brands, we've got 12 teams, 24 cars, or 23 cars this weekend. We're missing one of them. One of the Ford GTs was damaged in an accident a couple of weeks ago and has not been repaired for this race, but we still have a full field on hand. And yesterday we saw, I think, a lot of competition. Certainly the Aston Martins were very, very strong, Johnny Herbert, but the other marques were not far behind, were they?
No, they weren't really that far behind. Yes, the Astons were very quick. They sort of had 2 or 3 quick Aston Martins, but to be honest, yes, you're right, Jeremy, there wasn't such a big gap.
And we had a look through the fastest laps of each of the cars after the race. That was interesting to analyse that, and the Astons were certainly the quickest, the 2 quickest cars, but there were 16 cars within 1 second. Let's go down to yesterday's pole sitter, Darren Turner.
Darren, the Aston's been picking up some good times over the weekend. It was certainly great for you to take a home win in the Aston.
Well, we should have had a win yesterday, but me and Thomas both made some sort of fundamental mistakes and got some penalties for it. But put that behind us, we're still P4 on the grid, so we should have a good chance today. The guys did a fantastic job in the pit stop, so we're hoping they can do the same again and make us leapfrog up the order.
How have the conditions been out on track?
This morning, obviously, it was very, very wet, and it was quite tricky for everyone. But now it looks quite good out there. There's a lot of dirt just from the building site. It's easy to drag it on, but as the circuit matures, that should be better for next year. But it's okay. Everything looks dry, so we should be okay.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And the building site that Darren Turner is referring to is a new pit complex that has been built down at the south end of the racetrack. That will be in use for next year's British Grand Prix here at Silverstone. But Darren Turner and Thomas Engate, his teammate, they were clearly the fastest drivers on the track yesterday, but they both made, as Darren admitted to, a fundamental mistake. And that mistake was, as they came into the pit lane, there's a white line that demarcates the racetrack from the pit lane, and they ran over that white line. Both drivers did the same thing, unbelievably, for 2 professional drivers, Johnny Herbert, and that cost him dealing with 2 drive-through penalties.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise considering the amount of experience they have, but there you go, it sort of proves that humans and drivers and everybody else do make mistakes, and they paid for it. So those 2 penalties lost them the race win.
And that is Andrea Bertolini there, who with Michael Bartels have won 3 of the last 4 GT1 championships in Europe, and are looking to add a World Championship crown to their names this year. That team, the Vitaphone Maserati team, have won the last 5 teams championships in GT1, so you know they're going to be tough to beat. Here is Darren Turner, though, climbing aboard that car number 7, and he knows what the pressure is on here today. Let's go down to Fred McAwicky, who's already had a GT3 race this afternoon.
Fred, you've had some great successes over the weekend. Are you looking forward to getting out there?
Yeah, really. We are really happy. We hope to do the same job that yesterday, because it's very important for us, and it's very important to be on the first lane for the race of the championship.
Great. Thank you, Fred.
The grid for today's race is set according to the positions of the qualifying race that took place on Saturday afternoon. The two Hexis AMR Aston Martins finished first and second, with Frederick Makowiecki and Thomas Ackery winning from Jonathan Hirschi and Clivio Piccioni. They will share the front row of the grid today. And Frederick, it was a great drive by him yesterday, and also this morning in the GT race, Johnny, he was on the podium as well. So it's been a super weekend so far.
It certainly has, and the good thing for him, he has a very good feeling now of the racetrack. Most of the guys did the warm-up, like Darren said, it was wet this morning, so they don't have the real feel. So he's probably, in some regard, probably got a slight advantage.
I think so, and we've talked about the weather over the weekend. We were expecting perhaps some rain today, also expecting rain yesterday. It didn't materialise then. We had some rain overnight though, but the conditions much cooler today than they were yesterday, much cooler, and that is going to have a big effect on how these cars handle.
Yes, it's cold. It's very, very cold because of the wind is blowing, and we're typical here at Silverstone, slightly high up on an old World War II airstrip, and it's going to be difficult for these guys, Jeremy, yes, because they've got to get those tyres warm. So you'll probably see a lot of weaving on the first lap around, because they're trying to get that temperature into the tyres, because it's very important to get temperature in to get grip, and then that makes it a lot easier. But it will still probably take, once the start is underway, another 1, 2, possibly 3 laps before that temperature is at its optimum.
A glance there, another British driver, Peter Dumbreck, who will share this number 23 Sumo Power GT Nissan GTR with that man, Michael Krum. Michael is from Germany, but he's been racing for the last 10 years or more in Japan, primarily with Nissan. That gave him the inside ride on this drive with that brand new Sumo Power GT team that is based on the south coast of England. So there's a lot of local rivalries here, certainly, and also a lot of local residents almost on hand here. The Aston Martins were built at the ProDrive facility in Banbury, which is less than 20 miles away from here at Silverstone. Peter Dumbreck lives locally, as does Darren Turner. So there's a lot of local interest here, and there's a good lot of fans here on board also, you know, hoping for a home success, Johnny.
No, definitely so, and it's wonderful that we've got some British teams in some British cars that are doing so well, and they had a very good day yesterday, did the Aston Martins, and they've got a very good chance of repeating that.
There is a good look at one of the grandstands here at the Silverstone Arena Circuit, as it now is called. This is a brand new track this year, slightly longer than in the past. The old bridge corner has gone, that flat-out blast underneath the bridge leading up to the final sequence of corners here on the lap at Silverstone. But the new layout, I think the drivers are overwhelmingly impressed with the changes that have been made here at Silverstone.
Yes, I think they are, because I think it's still left the classic Silverstone that we all know, which is fast, sweeping corners, and even the new Abbey corner, which used to go left. There was originally a left kink, then there was a chicane. Now it's actually a very fast right-hander, which then leads down a straight to the new arena complex. And it's overall, the drivers have been very impressed with what they've got, and it's been very good, I think, for the fans, because the way the grandstands and the banks are placed around the circuit, you can actually see quite a lot of racing going on.
You can, and the new grandstands are still being positioned here in readiness for the British Grand Prix in a couple of months' time, have all been raised up quite substantially, so that it gives the fans an even better view of the action, and particularly through that new arena section that takes place kind of inside where the Beckett's corner of series of corners is right now. So there's a lot of enthusiasm here. The start is less than 10 minutes away. We've got 3 Aston Martins towards the front of the field. We also have a Maserati on the second row of the grid. We have a Nissan and a Lamborghini on row 3, a Nissan and a Lamborghini also on row 4, and a Lamborghini and the first of the Corvettes on row 5 of the grid. And the Corvettes haven't been quite as competitive this weekend as they were in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago, but I think we might see a little bit more of those cars joining us. Let's have a look at the grid. The 2 Astons on the front, Darren Turner and Thomas Enger in the third Aston on the inside of the second row. The Lamborghini and Nissan on the following row of the grid, and then Benoldi who is an ex-Formula 1 driver, and Michael Krum on row 4. Andres Zuber, he finished second 2 weeks ago in the Corvette. Can he move up from 10th on the grid? Mike Hezemans, the most experienced GT1 driver of them all. Matteo Bobby and Bert Longin, who's new to the Maserati, but he should be fast. Carl Wendlinger will start alongside on the 7th row of the grid. Carl Wendlinger has won this event, the Tourist Trophy, the famed Royal Automobile Club Tourist Trophy, for the last 2 years in a row, but he has his work cut out to win it from a long way down the grid. Baz Lenders, he should be fast. Alex Margaritis and Alfred Hager on row 11 of the grid, making a comeback after almost 10 years out of the cockpit, and alone at the back, Stefan Mucker and Christopher Nygaard in one of the Fords. That should be a fast car, in one of the Aston Martins, I should say. That should be a fast car, but they were involved in an accident on the first lap yesterday.
Yeah, exactly, and I think they were going to be trying to keep out of the way and just make a clean start. You know, this type of racing is important to get to the, well, as any racing is, to get to the end of the race, but to get involved in incidents on the first corner is very unnecessary, and it's something you've got to be thinking about and be very smart with your decisions going into that first corner.
We're going to have a lot of onboard action for you. This is from the number 9 car of our pole sitter, Fred Makawecki. Will start the car and hand over to Thomas Ackeriet later on. Just to set the scene a little, this is a 1-hour race. Yesterday we had a 1-hour qualifying race and also played some championship points. 8 points for the win, 6 for second, 4 for third yesterday. Today, though, this is the championship round, round 2 of the new World Championship that's come into effect this year, and it'll be 25 points for a win, down to 1 point for 10th place. There is a look at the weather conditions. As you can see, a pretty chilly 10 degrees only.
That's a track temperature, and the track temperature generally these guys want to race on is something like 20, 25, maybe 30 degrees. So the track is so cold, and that's why on the screen you see these guys weaving, trying to get that temperature in.
Yeah, that's very important to build some heat into these tyres. They're slick racing tyres. They have virtually no grip when they're cold, and they only start to work when you get some heat into them. That's why you will see the cars moving around quite a bit on this formation lap to try and build some heat into the tyres, ready for that all-important first corner.
Absolutely, and you just need that temperature. And like we saw yesterday in the first race and first corner, these guys were just trying to lean on each other too much, and of course because of that they were actually then very loose, and we had a spinner which then punctured another car's tyres. So it's something that you've just got to keep out of the way of.
That was a glimpse in the garage of Bert Longin and Alfred Hager, who will take over the number 33 and 34 cars later on in the race. As we said, it's 60 minutes this afternoon to determine the major championship points for the weekend. And the teams have to make a pit stop anywhere between 25 and 35 minutes into the race. So they have a 10-minute window to make that pit stop. Here we are on board with another car that should be very fast this weekend. It won convincingly at Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago, but Romain Grosjean, an ex-Formula 1 driver, and his teammate Thomas Much have been well, they just haven't shone at all this weekend, Johnny.
Not at all. We haven't seen them. I think that's about the second time we've seen them this weekend. They haven't quite had that, well, they haven't had that pace at all that we saw in Abu Dhabi.
They haven't, but there was a Ford that was quickest in the warm-up this morning, albeit in wet conditions. But I think the Fords have, I'm fairly confident they are capable of more than we have seen thus far. We'll see whether the teams and the drivers can get it together this afternoon. Coming up for the last couple of corners then, forming up for the start of this 1-hour race. 2 Aston Martins on the front row, another Aston Martin right behind them, Darren Turner, the local favourite, and a Maserati alongside on row 2. They'll keep a constant pace now until they see the green lights ablaze on the start-finish gantry, and then the race will be on. Lights ablaze from everybody on virtually in the field of cars. It's waiting for that launch gun. There goes the green light, and away they go. A wonderful start for car number 10. That is Jonathan Hirschi and Clivio Piccioni, who will share that car.
Oh, there's a GT40 spinning there.
That's Grosjean.
Yeah, that happened very early. A lot of smoke was going on quite early on there. I don't know what happened there.
So the winner from 2 weeks ago, we just talked about it. We think he was going to move his way forward. In fact, he's in reverse at the first corner.
Absolutely.
It is the Aston Martin made a wonderful start there from the outside of the front row. Jonathan Hirschi doesn't have an awful lot of experience, certainly not in these cars. He's come out of the Renault Megane Euro Cup Series, but boy, he did a great job yesterday, and he's done a super move at the beginning of the race. He timed that start absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and the Lamborghini also as well, that made a great start as well. That got ahead of the Maserati, and also the Nissan got ahead of the Maserati as well. So not such a good start from Bertolini.
A very poor start from Bertolini, and the second of the Vitaphone Maseratis there, number 2, it moves through into about 5th place, I think. He started back in 9th, did Enrique Bernoldi, a former Formula 1 driver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place, I think he is now. So an excellent start by the Brazilian. And
a very poor one by his teammate.
Looks like a problem also for one of the Al Inkle Lamborghini Gallardos. Once again, they've had problems on the first lap. It was the same in yesterday's race as well.
You can see the 3 Aston Martins already pulled a gap on the rest of the field, and now they're going to obviously start settling down to get those tyres as warm as they possibly can. So they've all got to be a little bit aware that it's easy to make mistakes when these tyres are cold, but you just need to get that temperature in there so you have the opportunity of passing your fellow drivers. I'm very close here with the 2 Corvettes. And he's passed him. That was a great move. He really put the pressure on, was able to slip past.
And that was another local driver, Oliver Gavin, making the move there past the number 14 car of Mike Hazeman. So these two are both hugely experienced at the wheel of Corvettes, but the local man, Ollie Gavin, he makes the move stick down into that final complex of corners.
Yeah, and a great move by Ollie. It's something that he needs to do. He started a little bit further back down the field, but that was a great move to start his move in this race.
Boy, the Aston Martins, they just took off at the green flag. Or at the end of lap 1, we've got Aston Martin out in front, and they are almost a full 2 seconds clear of the best of the rest, which is Jos Menton in the Reiter Lamborghini Murcielago. Great start by Menton. He started in 6th, so he made up a couple of places already.
Yeah, and the Nissan is trying to get past that Lamborghini. Oh, the leader, he runs very wide and has lost the lead. Little mistake. This is what I'm saying. These tyres are not up to temperature yet.
And Jonathan Hirschi does not have an awful lot of experience. I think he just left his braking a little bit too late at the end of the hangar straight.
And the Nissan got past the Lamborghini as well. So a great start for the Nissan.
So some great action in the early stages. You'll see the time clock ticking away at the top of the screen. That denotes the amount of time left to go in this 1 hour, 60-minute race. And you can see all the battles already developing. There is the car that started on row 2 of the grid, now back into 7th place with Andrea Bertolini, hugely experienced at the wheel. Let's go on board with Bertolini.
Yep, and we've got the right-hander here on the new arena circuit. This is the left, the slowest part of the circuit. It's probably about 75 kilometers, accelerating through the little kink now that goes on to the Wellington Straight. And now you've got a good opportunity if you can get through that kink very fast and get behind your fellow driver in front to try and get past him. No one's actually been able to achieve it on that lap. Now we join the old part of the Grand Prix circuit through Brooklyn, through Luffield here, sort of Luffield 1 and Luffield 2. And there is our full GT driver.
Romain Grosjean, out of the race, it would appear, on the very first lap. What a disappointment for the winner in Abu Dhabi 2 weeks ago. The Maytech Competition 4 GT. It's a gorgeous car. For some reason, it's just not been really competitive this weekend, and it just had disasters to go along with it as well. So it looks like no points at all this weekend for the erstwhile championship leaders, and then it's not what they want in this 10-round FIA GT1 World Championship.
And the Nissan's pace at the moment is very good. It's the only one, it seems, to have sort of a similar pace to the Aston Martins. And we got a wheel with a puncture from somebody as it rolls back onto the track. Looks like a Nissan, I think.
Nice
time. It's an Aston Martin, no.
It is one of the Aston Martins, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's presumably car number 8, which started at the back. Stefan Rucker and Christopher Nygaard. They had problems yesterday as well. An incident on the first lap. Looks like they got problems again. The other 3 Astons are in great shape, but the 4th one, not so much.
Now rimboard again. This is a club corner, I think. Yes, and now this is where he's going to try and accelerate. Oh, we've got a big fire here. Big fire. I think this is at the end of the hangar straight.
It's the number 14 Phoenix Carsport Corvette Z06. That is Mike Hazen, who's the most experienced. That is well ablaze. Can't imagine what happened there, but there's a huge conflagration going on down there. The marshals very quickly on hand Mike Hazelmans, he's the most experienced GT1 driver, 121 starts to his name. He started in the series back in 1998. He's got 14 wins to his name. He's not going to add to that tally this afternoon.
No, definitely not. I think I saw a little bit earlier on there was an actual safety car. So obviously they've got to clear up that Corvette that is on fire. And I think it's at the end of the hangar straight. I did see a big burst of sort of black smoke just as we went off screen, and I think it was possibly an engine that may have gone, and that's just obviously ignited all the oil that's spilt everywhere, but that's a bit of a guess.
Yeah, the engine's relatively in the front, and the fire was pretty much at the back of the car, but whatever it was a nasty mess, and the safety car has been scrambled. The field will fall into line behind it while they clear up the mess down, we think, towards Stowe Corner, and the field therefore give everybody an opportunity. Anybody had a problem early on, they give them a chance to catch up, and the last car's coming past us just now, and incredibly, it's Karl Wendlinger who is at the tail end of the pack, car number 3. Karl Wendlinger, the Austrian former Grand Prix driver, of course, and the winner of last two tourist trophies. Let's go down to the pit lane and have a word with Romain Grosjean, who's already out of the action.
Romain, you got caught up in the traffic there. Can you explain what happened?
Well, if I knew, now there are weekends which doesn't go right. This one was one of those, and somebody hit me from behind and broke the suspension, the rear left suspension. So a bit disappointed because I was quite careful. It was even not the first corner in the first straight. So sometime happens. We seen Brno, we make it back on the top.
Thank you.
Yeah, the next race will take place in the Czech Republic in the tree-lined hills of the wonderful Brno circuit. Here's a replay again of the start. See if we can see what happened to Romain Grosjean. He's in the middle of the back of the pack there, including some contact.
Yeah, we got a punt up the back and then a little bit from the someone on the right, but at the end of the day, it was nothing to do with him. Obviously, the punt up the back broke his suspension, like he said.
See him in the middle, right towards the back of the attack. He's almost alone.
There's actually no one behind him.
No, there isn't anybody behind him.
So I'm guessing possibly the suspension failed. It's funny you said suspension. I think it must have failed.
I think you must be right, because there didn't seem to be anybody behind him. There were several cars alongside him, and it almost looked it almost looked before you would be braking there.
Yes, oh no, definitely so, yes, definitely so.
On the first lap, Copse is a very, very fast corner. You're not really braking very much, even on the first lap of the race, which certainly would be slower than usual. But,
not at that point, no. I think that's why it was so nasty. Well, the fire is still, or the smoke is still going down at the back end of that Corvette. This is horrible because the smoke is sort of probably carbon fibre that's burning. It's quite a horrible smell that you get from that, and it's not a nice thing for those marshals to be working around.
No, abandoned ship quickly for Mike Hazelmans, and he also he's a second generation driver. His father, Toyner Hazelmans, had a huge amount of success in all sorts of cars, primarily touring type cars, but Mike has built quite a career for himself in the GT1 series. He's now 40 years old, amazingly. He's from Eindhoven in Holland, and was looking for a good run here. He started off the season well. They had a third place finish, himself and Andrea Piccini, in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago. As we've already said, that's the top 3 finishes from 2 weeks ago, already out of the action.
Yeah, I know, very strange how we've had such a change from what we saw in Abu Dhabi, but that's part of what this GT1 World Championship is all about. You know, they try and do a little bit of balancing with the cars to make them as competitive as each other, but at the end of the day, it's something that some cars will work in Abu Dhabi better than what they will here at Silverstone. The Aston Martin definitely does work here better.
Yeah, 2 completely different styles of racetrack. The Aston Martins, they weren't competitive on the stop-go nature of Abu Dhabi. That's a fantastic Yas Marina circuit where they raced in the night there a couple of weeks ago. But here, in the fast-flowing, relatively flat track at Silverstone, there's Aston Martin's working well. Let's have another look again from the onboard with Romain Grosjean's car.
It goes left, you see. Yeah. So I think to me that's like where the suspension lets go. Then it will turn in that left direction. So I'm guessing it was on that left side of the suspension it's collapsed.
Yeah, that's a great shame for Romain Grosjean. A lot was expected of the Franco-Swiss this weekend. Dual nationality he carries. He was a star in the open wheel ranks, trying to get his way towards Formula 1. He made it to Formula 1 last year with the Renault team, and he completed 9 starts with the F1 team last year. But he's now stepping into the GT1 World Championship, certainly enjoying he enjoyed the first weekend. This week, not so much. There's the remains, though, of that car sport Phoenix Racing Corvette Z06.
It's very strange, as a Jeremy, that the burn that's on that car is obviously at the back end.
We go down to the pit lane and Anthony Kumpen, who will drive a little bit later on this afternoon.
Anthony, do you have an update on Mike?
Apparently he's out of the car, so that's the most important, but we don't know what happened, because with the fire he had, I think he wanted to get out of the car very quickly, so he didn't talk on the mic.
It's unfortunate for you because it's your race only here this weekend at the moment.
Yeah, but the whole weekend has been pretty bad. You know, the balance of performance was not really good. If they put us 110 kilos higher than the Aston, then they can hire any driver. You don't have any chance. So it's been a pretty bad weekend. The only good session we had was in the rain this morning where we were fast. But with 110 kilos, we are driving a truck and the others are driving race cars.
Thank you, Anthony.
What do you really mean, Anthony? Disappointment there, clearly, in the words of Anthony Kumpen, who was making his seasonal debut in the GT1 Championship. He'd got a lot of experience in the past and was hoping for a competitive outing this weekend, but I said he was going to be driving later on this afternoon. Of course, he should have been driving later on this afternoon, but that are the remains of the car that he should have been pedaling in about a half an hour's time. And the cleanup has taken quite a while. I'm sure that car, they put out the fire, but it's still pretty hot, and you don't want to get too close to it too soon.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing the only thing at the back end of that car, I guess, is the fuel tank. That's the only thing that's there, I think.
Potentially a drive shaft failure, it could have punctured the fuel tank. There's all sorts of things that could have happened, but there is Mike Hazelman's trudging his way forlornly back towards the pits, and it's a pretty long walk from where he was. He's actually made pretty good time to get that far. So that's a major disappointment. The field is still behind.
It's okay. He's going to get a helicopter.
Yeah, he'd be lucky.
Yeah, I know.
Dream on.
So anyway, so these guys now, the marshals, will be trying to, as we say that, they're dragging the car off of the track before we can get the race underway. And these guys are now, of course, they did a couple of laps there, 5 laps, and the tyres were sort of just getting up to temperature. Now they've gone down again, so now they're trying to keep that temperature in the tyres. You'll see again they're weaving across the track, trying to keep that tyre temperature there, because we have got a very cold day here, and it's very important for those guys to have the car at its best.
Still just over 13 minutes into this race only, so still some way before the pit stop window will open. And we can have another look at the replay of the start, and we saw all sorts of action. We saw the 2 Aston Martins, or 3 Aston Martins at the front of the grid, and here we go as they're coming into Copse Corners from the outside of the grid. It's Jonathan Hirsch who made a fantastic start to take the lead from his Hexis AMR teammate, and at the back of the field around goes that Ford GT. Suspension broken. You see there's no visible damage to the outside, and I'm sure Johnny Herbert is exactly right. The suspension broke, I think, even before he got on the brakes, and around the car went, and he was a passenger from there.
Yeah, totally so.
Well, you've had that happen to you, Johnny, in your career. I'm sure some sort of mechanical failure. It's a helpless feeling.
Oh, totally, because again, that was, in some ways, he was very lucky because he turned left, but there was actually a car that stopped him from possibly having a bigger accident, so he was quite fortunate to have that. I've had that a couple of times. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have anybody on my left or right. I actually then flew straight off the circuit. In my last race, for example, for Jaguar in Malaysia, the suspension failed, that took off the rear wing, and he turned so sharply left that I had no idea what the hell was going on, and then you started to bounce and crash around before you actually stopped. So yes, you are a passenger at that point.
Does anything go through your mind, or is it just sort of confusion?
No, nothing really goes through your mind, because I think it happens so quick. By the time you've sort of thought where you are, you've actually hit the barrier and you're stopped. Then you know where you are.
You hope. Yes. So on board again now with the one of the Lamborghinis. This is the number 25 car, Joss Menton at the wheel in 5th place. A good start for Joss, and he's, I know, very excited about this season ahead. He didn't do the first round of the championship. Again, another guy with quite a lot of experience in GT1 cars, but this is his first time at the wheel of one of the Reiter Engineering Lamborghinis.
Yeah, and I think one thing we should keep our eye on, I think, once this race is underway again, is that 22 Nissan. That, to me, I think had a very good race pace, and it'll be interesting to see now, once we have the restart, if it can actually put pressure on those top 3 Aston Martins, but it did look very good to me, so I think we should keep our eye on that.
I think you're absolutely right. On board there briefly with the number 9 car, Frederick Makowiecki in the car number 9. His teammate Jonathan Hirschi right behind him. Darren Turner in the 3rd of the Aston Martins, the young driver AMR team, number 7 in 3rd place, and then that number 22 Nissan that you were talking about, the Sumo Power GT car. Warren Hughes has started the race. He's a good old Geordie. He's from Newcastle and still lives in Newcastle. And Jamie Campbell-Walter, originally from Scotland, but now makes his home in London and has a very English accent, rather than what you would expect from somebody from Oban.
Yeah, we're watching the cars following the pace car, and you can see those lights flashing on top of it. And generally what happens when they go off, that is giving a warning to the drivers that he will be pulling off on this lap, and then the race will be underway. So if we hopefully stick with that and watch that, we will know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, that GTR pace car we believe will be pulling off later this lap, and the race will be back underway. We've got 6 laps in the books right now. The time clock, we're down to 43 minutes to go, so almost 17 minutes gone. In this safety car period, it's how much does it disturb your concentration, Johnny? You're in the racing game.
Lights are off.
All of a sudden, you're cruising around under the yellow.
Yeah, well, I suppose you're just fixed. You're still in race mode effectively. So what you're just trying to do is always just keep that temperature in there. And exactly what they're doing their final sort of warm up preparation in those tyres. Now they're sort of settling down because they want to get through these Brooklyn last corner. And I think they've sort of started early. But this is where now the race will be very important to get as close as you can to the cars in front.
Keep that temperature in the tyres. Don't make a mistake under acceleration here. Out of Luffield and onto the front straight at Silverstone. The safety car has pulled off the line, and here it comes. It's a super start again from Frederick Makowiecki. He gets away beautifully this time from the rolling start. He holds the position clearly into Cox Corner. Warren Hughes in 4th place, unable to get close to Darren Turner. There, the second of the Vitaphone Maseratis. Andrea Bertolini aboard, and he's at the moment having to be content with following the number 2 car, the teammate Enrique Bernoldi at the wheel. 2 Maseratis running in lockstep.
Great start by the Aston Martins. They've got a sort of a nice lead on that first pit straight, so I think it's something they've got a slight advantage there. But I think, as I said before, that Nissan, we can see again, it seems to be still hanging on the back of those Aston Martins as the Lamborghini, I think, goes past the Maserati. I'm not quite sure. The Maserati was trying to pass the Lamborghini.
Let's have a look here at the
trying to pass the Lamborghini.
Intermediate splits there. The Aston Martin in first place.
And there goes Michael Crum down the inside of running a bit wide there. I don't know if he's going to stay in front. Yeah, I think he has. There's a lot going on there, but the Corvette has lost out 3 places on that manoeuvre.
Yeah, look at them all there running using the escape road there at the newly realigned club corner. Everybody out there in that runoff area. I don't think you're in favour of that, are you?
No, I don't think it should be used. It's not really there to be used, but these guys seem to be abusing it.
Yes, there for emergency use only. There's Oliver Gavin again making another move down the inside. That is for 10th place, finding his way past the vastly experienced Peter Cox. Farther down the field, one of the Hager Sport cars in 14th place making a move. And there's all sorts of jockeying positions on this first lap back to green flag racing. Down to the inside, this is the second of the Mad Croc Racing Corvettes. That is Xavier Masson making a move down into Brooklands corner.
Yeah, and that was a good move. That Chevrolet has been really, Corvette rather, has been really sort of losing. It's lost about 5 positions on that lap, I think it is.
Seiji Ara making a wonderful start. They're getting past a couple of cars, and the race leader Frederick Makowiecki, a sensational opening restart there. Makowiecki pulled out 2.5 seconds on an opening lap of the restart, and Jonathan Hirschi is just holding on from Darren Turner. Those two locked together as they came past the start-finish line, and then Warren Hughes in the Nissan holding on in 4th place here. Looking back at the Jos Menton Lamborghini, just holding off the two Maseratis, then another of the Nissans, then the Corvette, then the Lamborghini, then another Maserati, and here comes one of the Ford GTs trying to make a move on Andreas Zuber. And Zuber was a star 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. He finished in second place along with his teammate Mark Hennerisi in that Phoenix car sport racing car, but this weekend those Corvettes are not quite as competitive, and we saw here at the restart, as we did at the beginning of the race, the Aston Martins, they're running a little bit lighter than most of the other cars, and I think on the first lap particularly, that slightly lighter weight pays to their advantage.
Yeah, and they've got a slightly bigger restrictor, which actually restricts the air. It's something that they try and gain control of the cars, and it's slightly bigger here at Silverstone, and of course here at Silverstone it's exactly what you want, because we've got these long straights. As the Maserati tries to get up the inside of the Lamborghini, very close, he's still tapped up behind him. Enrique Bernardi has a good chance here if he's going to swing down the inside. I think he's through on this one, as long as he doesn't run wide. I think he should be okay. Yes, he's cleanly through. Very good job.
Yeah, very good job. He sort of feinted to the outside there, waited till Jos Menton kind of committed to the middle of the road, and then dived down the inside. That's how you get it done.
Absolutely, textbook.
And we saw yesterday, Bernaldi was driving the second stint in yesterday's race. We saw him make rather more questionable moves, do we not, towards the end of the race. But this one, that's how you should do it.
Yeah, he's a very aggressive driver.
There it is, the second of the Sumo Power GT cars that is driven by Michael Krum, and hot on his heels now is Oliver Gavin, the Corvette, the local driver from Yardley Hastings, not too far away from here in Silverstone. He's all over the back there, is on board here with Michael Krum. Ahead of him is Andrea Bertolini in seventh place, the Maserati, one of the Maseratis in front, and then the Lamborghini in front of that, and all sorts of battling up and down the order.
Yeah, great inboard shot, yes, exactly. With the Nissan, he's putting a lot of pressure under the Maserati in front of him, and the Nissans are doing very well at the moment. They're quite strong, it seems, in the race, and it's going to be interesting to see how the pressure he can put under that Maserati to get past, because it's important in this only 1 hour race we have. We've lost a bit of time with that pace car, and he needs to get further up the field, but obviously he's not quite quick enough. And this is always the thing about this these types of cars and these types of tracks. Some are quick in some parts of the circuit. Michael doesn't look very quick on the exit of that clubs section, but he seems to be a little bit better as we go into the arena part. So he just needs to get as close as he can when he gets that opportunity, when he feels that the car is good. And he's diving up the inside of the Maserati, trying to get that Lamborghini again. Andrea Bertolini.
You saw the standings at the bottom of your screen there. That is the positions as they are right now. We've got 9 laps in the books. We've got just over 36 minutes to go in this race, so another lap and the pit window will be open, and we can expect the first of the cars to be diving onto pit lane. Everybody will have to make a pit stop in the 10-minute window between 25 minutes and 35 minutes into this 1 hour race. In the meantime, the leader has pulled out quite an advantage over second, third and fourth, who are running pretty much together. So one Aston Martin well clear of the next two, and the best of the Nissans, Warren Hughes, running in fourth place. And here we are on board again with the second of the Nissans, Michael Krum, in eighth place. And he thinks he knows he's got a faster car, at least at this stage of the race, than that Maserati, Johnny, but he can't find a way past.
No, he can't, no. And as I said, he's quick in the wrong places. He's quick when it's not easy to overtake, and then he's slower, obviously, where it's easier. And obviously Bertolini, he's doing a good job. He's trying to close down the car in front, but he's also trying to sort of keep the Nissan behind it. But we're trying again. This is going into the Stowe corner. He's going to try and go around the outside, which I think will not quite work off, but he's trying very hard, and he could slip down on his inside if it's possible.
Well, I think he was trying to do that, and then maybe that would give him the inside line for this ensuing corner. But look at Oliver Gavin!
Oh, that was optimistic. That was.
Well, he was down the inside, and Michael Krum just turned in there, irrespective of the fact he didn't know there was a second car alongside for sure, but he didn't know. But he did know that the Maserati was next to him, and he turned in anyway.
Absolutely, that was I think that was optimistic in one way from Oliver, but I think it was the way that everybody went into there, 3 abreast. But Michael cutting across the Maserati definitely was not good.
Yeah, that's what caused the accident.
That's what caused the accident.
Yes, it was a big gamble from Ollie going down the inside of 2 cars. Uh-oh, there is Michael Croom. He's ended up very much the worse for it. I think probably justice perhaps served there. Michael, you know, he certainly he didn't know there were two cars inside, but he did know there was one, and he turned in anyway. And that's pretty much a no-no, isn't it?
It is really, because it's a slow. You're braking to a slow corner, so to actually get in front is an impossibility, and I think that was obviously proof of that.
Here is his battle for second place, and now we see a couple of them taking the opportunity to come onto pit lane. That is Darren Turner in third place and Warren Hughes in the Nissan right behind him, to an Aston Martin and a Nissan into the pits at the earliest possible opportunity. And I think this is a very smart move. They were both being held up by that second place car number 10 of Jonathan Hirschi, so why not take the opportunity now to come onto pit lane and make their scheduled pit stop?
Absolutely, I think that's totally right. The Maserati Bertolini in also, so I think it's a good call on those guys to get in early, because they were being held up. Now they might have a chance of free traffic to get some speed, and obviously some overtaking when all these pit stops are done.
The Lamborghini of Peter Cox also onto pit lane. He will switch to Christopher Haas, and the pit stop's absolutely crucial here. Now they have to change drivers, they have to change all four Michelin tyres. Furthermore, however, there's only one air gun allowed to change these four tyres, and only two crew members are allowed to come out from outside the garage as well. So it has to be very, very closely monitored, very well choreographed. Look at these two coming side by side.
It's like being in China.
So a good stop there by the Sumo power car. I think perhaps able to sneak ahead of Bertolini. I don't know which Sumo power car that was.
I think that is Warren Hughes, to be honest.
Well, in that case, it must have been a slow stop for the number 22 car. We're going to have to wait and see. But Frederick Macabrecki in the race-leading Aston Martin car number 9. He stayed out. He has not yet made a pit stop. And look at the advantage that he has over his teammate, the second of the Hexus AMR cars of Jonathan Hirschi.
Yeah, well, this is where now, obviously, he's going to be pitting very, very shortly. And I think it'd be interesting to see if he can do some quick laps before he pits, which it looks as if he's doing on our board. I think then he will still have that lead once those pit stops are done.
On board the Maserati now, that is now Michael Bartels at the wheel of this car. He has won this championship in 3 times in the last 4 years, and ahead of him is Jamie Campbell-Walter, another GT1 champion back in 2000 with the Lister Storm, the much-loved Lister Storm. But now he's driving for Nissan, another British team, and he is, I think it was a slightly slower stop, but he is running well. Here is the second place Aston Martin. Jonathan Hirschi brings that car into pit lane. We're hearing he might have a puncture, which would explain why he lost a little bit of pace in the last few laps. It's probably just a slow puncture. That happens every now and again, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but it's very fortunate it's in the window as well. So actually, he's not going to lose as much as he probably would have done, and maybe not get the penalty.
No, it's not been a good day for Nissan. That looked like one of them parked down there, didn't it? 23 car of Michael Krum and Peter Dumbrek, I think.
Michael Bartels has passed the Nissan, and the Nissan's trying to fight back as we go into Stowe Corner at the end of the long hangar straight. No, it's not.
That's into Brooklands it is right now. A slight mistake by Jamie Campbell-Walter up at the new arena section, and Bartels taking advantage. What a great dice this is, back and forth, back and forth. Can the Maserati get the advantage on the exit of Luffield?
Yes, he does. Well, the Nissan is good, because I think he's been fighting off that Maserati for that lap, and they've been sort of having a ding-dong battle, and at the moment he's winning that battle.
Two completely different cars. They're both they're both very competitive, but just look at the cars and how different they are. The Maserati against the more classical shape, perhaps, of that Nissan GTR.
Yeah, well, you always see. You can see even that Aston Martin that now they're passing for position. I think that was for position.
Yeah.
Yes, that was position because of the puncture they had on that in lap.
Exactly right. That was Clivio Piccioni coming out of the pits in that erstwhile second place car. They lost a lot of ground, and he's now lost a couple of positions as well. These other two cars side by side they are again down into Stowe Corner, and once again it's a Nissan on the outside. Can he pull it off? We shall see. Michael Bartels leaving no room on the exit, forces Jamie Campbell Walter up on the curbs. Here they come down into club corners, a Lamborghini in there as well.
Yeah, great racing. Again, the Aston Martin sadly has lost a lot of position on this, but because he came out of the pits to cold tyres, got to get those back up to temperature again. And of course, all these guys already got warm tyres.
Maserati versus Nissan versus Lamborghini versus Aston Martin. That is what the GT1 World Championship is all about. 4 manufacturers absolutely tied together on that racetrack there, going into this new arena section. Great stuff at in the dice for around about 4th or 5th place. Actually, a little bit lower than that, because there's several teams that have not yet made their first pit stops of the day, including Frederick McAwecki in car number 9. He's led almost from the start. He took over the lead from his teammate about 4 or 5 laps into the race. He's been out in front since then, and in second place right now is the car number 2, that's Enrique Bernoldi, who again also has not yet made a pit stop. Neither has the car number 25 Lamborghini of Joss Menton, nor the 2 Triple H Team Hagersport cars, number 33 and 34, both of them Maseratis.
And the lead Aston Martin is still doing in some storming laps at the moment. He's about a second faster than most of the other guys behind him, and that's only going to extend his lead even when they've done their pit stop.
What's really interesting now is to see when McAwecki makes his pit stop to hand over to Thomas Ackery, and then to see whether Thomas Enger, who has taken over from Darren Turner, can make up that ground in the interim time. He's turning a couple of quickly, he's turning some very fast laps in Enger. He's just turned that car's best lap. He's down in 11th place right now. Is car number 7, Thomas Enger, at the wheel. He's just turned the fastest lap of his race so far, that car's race so far, a 2:01.2. Fastest lap of the race overall, the race leader, 2 minutes, 0.5. Look at this jostling here.
That Nissan's got ahead of that Maserati again. They're still racing, but they've got a bit of traffic ahead. They've got to try and guide their way through.
Look at this lot. This is crazy stuff going down into Club Corner. And the Nissan at Seiji Ara in car number 4, I believe he has not yet stopped. So he's on a different strategy to these other guys. So he's going to fall back once he does make his pit stop. And he's got only a couple of minutes within which to make that pit stop. Ahead of him is car number 4, that is Matteo Bobby, again a hugely experienced driver in one of the Triple H Hagersport Racing Maseratis.
As they come into the new arena section, Michael Bartels trying to get up the inside to get ahead of that Nissan in the pits here.
Second place car of Enrique Bernoldi. Again, the tyres being changed, just the 2 crew members down to the inside there. Goes Michael Bartels. He makes the move on Seiji Ara, who has not yet made his first pit stop, and now trying to follow suit is the Lamborghini. And the Aston Martin.
And the Aston Martin as well. That slips his way from getting up to, getting two positions.
Great racing going on here down the field. And
it's just great, Jeremy, that we've got all these different manufacturers battling with each other, bouncing each other, repassing. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There is Carl Wendlinger. He's now caught up with his teammate Seiji Ara. And these two yesterday in the qualifying race were battling away as well. And they actually came together on that occasion. So we'll see what happens now. Yesterday, it was a number 4 car pursuing the number 3, and they collided, and it was a number 3 car that came off worst. Now, is the boot going to be on the other foot? Seiji Ara in the first place of the Swiss racing team. Nissan's trying to hold up its vastly more experienced in GT1 terms teammate Carl Wendlinger.
And all these guys settling down now. Their sort of tyres are sort of coming up to temperature, and now it's just getting into a rhythm. It's a very important and a good track here at Silverstone to get into a very nice rhythm. And once you get into that rhythm, then you get more confident. When you get more confident, you go faster, and that is something that is important from now on.
The race leader, we believe, is on to the pit lane. Fred McAwecki, here he is. He's brought that car to a stop in the Hex's AMR pit. And while that is happening, Thomas Enger in car number 7, having taken over from Darren Turner at that pit stop, has just turned the fastest lap of the race, by far the fastest lap of the race, at 2 minutes, 0.45. There is car number 7. He's on a different strategy to many of the other cars that are sort of around him, although he's going to be on his own right now. He's turning some very quick laps after taking the advantage, or making the advantage for himself, of coming in to make that pit stop to make sure that he wasn't held up behind that car number 9.
Yeah, and this is the experience of Thomas Enger, because he's been with Aston Martin for many years now. He's been racing these GT1 cars for many years, and it didn't take him long to get onto the race pace. And as we speak to it, you know, the Hexus is still in the lead, but
good stop there by
the man who's behind him is Thomas Enger.
And Thomas Enger, of course, he's got already hot tyres on the number 7 Aston Martin, the young driver AMR car, and he is going to be on a charge. There's a bit of a deficit as he was there going into Beckett's corner. It's jostling in their back in the wake, but of course Thomas Ackery, having taken over that race leading car number 9, he is on cold tyres. It's going to take him a good lap or so to get those tyres up to temperature, Johnny.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's where Thomas, because he's on he's just done the fastest lap again, I think, on that previous lap, a 2-minute flat, and I think he's just going to close down that gap. But by the time he gets there, the tyre temperatures would have gone up on that leading Aston Martin as well.
With the standings after 15 laps, the 2 Astons out in front. Benoldi in the Maserati in 3rd place, 4th for Lamborghini, 5th for Nissan, 6th for Maserati, and in 7th place overall, young Alex Margaritis there, the Greco-German driver in 6th place. The Corvette number 11 of Xavier Masson running in 8th. Michael Bartels, the 3-time champion in GT1, in 9th. Then the Aston Martin, the car that was earlier running in 2nd place. I think a relatively slow stop between Jonathan Hirschi and Clivio Piccioni, but we'll see what they can do in the latter stages. There is Wendlinger, and farther down the Lamborghini, the other Aston Martin car number 8, that was had a problem on the early stages of this race. Stefan Muka now at the wheel, and Oliver Gavin, he's had a problem as well in car number 12.
Probably the aftermath of that collision they had at Vale. But the number 1 Maserati here is still trying to push his way forward. Find it very difficult. We've got 5 cars there. We've got the Aston Martin trying to go up the inside. There you go. He's lost out of position. Maybe he can hold it on the outside, and it'd be interesting to see. But I think he's going around the outside now. So no, he's kept that position. But there's a big fight. We've got 5 cars here, and then actually maybe coming into shot, there's another 5. So we've got 10 cars within about 3 or 4 seconds of each other.
We have tremendous racing there, and here we are back to the race leaders coming down to Stowe Corner. Look at the lead now that Thomas Ackery has in that ACM, the Hexus AMR team Aston Martin, and looming large right behind him now, that white car number 7, Thomas Enger. Again, a huge amount of experience. It's the young driver AMR team. I wouldn't exactly call Thomas young, but he's certainly got a lot of talent. He's 33 years of age now, from the Czech Republic, and charging hard. And here we are on board with the Aston Martin of our race leader, Thomas Ackery.
Yeah, one thing he doesn't want to do, and it was interesting watching his eyes, he's always, there you go, he's looking in the mirror, and it's one thing you just don't want to do. When it's Thomas Enger, you just want to carry on and just concentrate on what you're doing. And when you do that, you'll actually do the better lap times, because Thomas is something who's just going to put pressure on you.
And that is the car that was earlier running in 2nd place. Clivio Piccioni has taken the wheel from Jonathan Hirschi, and he's had a huge spin there, coming down towards the top corner, isn't it?
I think so.
Strange place to spin.
It's a very strange.
There must have been, I think, there might well have been some contact there. He was involved in that huge battle with a whole bunch of different cars. There was a Maserati, there was a Lamborghini, there was a Nissan in there as well, I think.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a replay of that. But I think at the moment, you know, the interest here is obviously the pressure that Thomas loves this situation. He's going to be putting so much pressure on that lead Aston Martin. And we'll have to see. Oh, and we got a Nissan, so there was definitely a contact.
Carl Wendlinger, that was car number 3, who's had a biggish impact there. Is that Cops Corner?
I think it looks like it. I'm not quite sure, but I think it might be. So I think that's the Cops Grandstand.
First place to have an accident is that, and quite a lot of damage to the front of the car. Here we are back to the leaders, winding their way through that Beckett's complex. They go left, right, and then left again through Chapel Curve onto the hangar straight, get the power down coming out of Beckett's onto the fastest part of the racetrack. They reach over 255 kilometres an hour down towards Stowe Corner, and then down a gear or two for Stowe, the right-hander. There is on board again with Thomas Ackery.
Absolutely, and again he's doing a good job at the moment. His lap time's a little bit slower than Thomas at the moment, but again he's going to get up to speed.
And we're hearing that there will be a stop-and-go penalty, I believe. I think that was a graphic for, was that car number 9 up there? I think it was a penalty for that car. There's a couple of penalties have been called, we believe, but we'll have to see what is happening. And in the meantime, it's Thomas Enger, though, putting the pressure on Thomas Ackery. The 2 Aston Martins out at the front of the field, and there's a problem for one of the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, got a puncture. Pulling off the track, it looks like, so obviously he's going to be out of the race, I reckon. I think he's going to pull up and stop. Not quite sure. He might try and get it back, but problem is with these tyres, they do tend to delaminate and then they start ripping the bodywork, which makes a big mess. But no, he's pulled up and stopped.
Yeah, that's a shame. The Lamborghinis have been running pretty strongly this weekend, as they were a couple of weeks ago in Abu Dhabi, but I think not a lot of luck for Peter Cox and Christopher Haas. Christopher Haas at the wheel right now. He was last year's GT3 European champion, stepping up into the GT1 cars and giving a good account of himself. He was involved in the shunt at the first corner yesterday. Several drivers not very happy with him, but was having a good run this afternoon until it appears to come to an early end. There again a look at the 2 Aston Martins out at the front of the field and heading away towards that Maggotts curve. And last time around, the lap times of the leaders
are running very similar. It's only 1/10 different. Thomas is 1/10 faster than the lead Aston Martin. So obviously the tyre pressures now have come up equally for both drivers, and now the race is really on with only 18.5 minutes to go.
You can see the running order at the bottom of the screen. And all sorts of battles here. Once again, we've got one of the Maseratis dicing with one of the Nissans. This time, it's Enrique Bernoldi in car number 2. There he is, the Vitaphone car in 4th place, I should say. And Jenny Campbell-Walter hot on his heels, right behind him there, and not far in front, Joss Menton, and it's Frank Ketchley who's taken over the wheel of car number 25. This is Ketchley's debut in GT1.
And down the inside he slips. Great move there by Jenny.
By Jamie Campbell-Walter, a lot of experience between these 2 drivers between them, but what a great move that was. And this brand new Sumo Power GT team, it wasn't even in existence at the turn of the year. It was only at the Autosport show in January that they got the all clear from Nissan to put a team together, and between then in January and now here we are in May for the second race weekend, to be as competitive as they are is a pretty remarkable feat.
Oh, he definitely is, and they've got a wealth of experience there. Nigel Stepney, former Formula One guy who worked with Ferrari latterly, and it's, you know, that type of experience that you need to get a team up and running as quickly as they have. And they had a bit of a tough time in Abu Dhabi, but they have been much more competitive here at Silverstone. James
Rumsey is the team owner of the Sumo Power GT team. He's founded the organisation in 2002 and basically the importer of Japanese go faster car parts, basically, but they've been running also successfully in the British Rally Championship, running the factory Mitsubishi effort over the last few years, and just this year stepping up into the GT1 arena. And Alan Orchard, a former racer, is the team manager for that organisation. Australian originally, he's been based over here though for quite a few years, and they put together a first-class operation. Talking of first-class operations, looking again at the standings there, the 2 Aston Martins out in front, Lamborghini in 3rd place. That's a great job by Joss Benton and Frank Ketchley. The Nissan also a fine job in 4th place, and then there's 4 Maseratis, the 2 Vitaphone cars sandwiching the Triple H Team Hager Sport cars, 5th through 9th. The Corvette, the lone Corvette amongst the top 10, Xavier Masson at the wheel. That is one of the Mad Croc Racing cars, wonderful name, isn't it? Absolutely wonderful stuff. It's a team that it's a Benelux team, if you like, Belgium and Netherlands. A couple of organisations getting together there, running 2 very nicely turned out Corvette and Z06s. I'll argue with you either together. Here are the two black and white cars. They're the Triple H Hager Sport cars. At the wheel of those cars right now, the leading of the two is Outfit Hager, the team owner, and right behind him is new teammate Bert Longin from Belgium. It's his first run in the Maserati this season, having driven Corvettes for a number of years, and told me this morning he's still getting used to how the Maserati handles. Didn't get a lot of track time this weekend coming into the races. Yesterday he felt a little bit rusty. He feels the car is good. He was looking forward to a good run today. And meanwhile, the other car, the Outfit Hager car, they had a problem yesterday. They had a problem with the spark plug. The car was only running on 11 cylinders, which doesn't really help.
Exactly. They found a little bit of on the spark plug. It's sort of a little pass inside that actually just dropped out, and obviously that didn't help their race.
So this is the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Three of them Maseratis plus the Corvette of this is Nicholas Armindo driving out in car number 11. Here's one of the 4 GTs. Haven't seen much of those. It's Maxime Martin now in the VDS racing car, just ahead of one of the Nissans. Seiji Ara having handed over the number 4 car to Max Nielsen from Sweden.
That just moves him up into the top 10.
We spoke to Baz Leenders and Maxime Martin earlier on today. They were quickest in the warm-up this morning in the wet. They were hoping for a wet race. It didn't happen. So we'll look at the replay there.
Yeah, great easy move, pulled out very easily, got the job done very early, and then was able just to carry on going into that Luffield final corner.
And that's Mark, VDS Racing team, run out of Belgium, owned by Mark and Mary van der Straten. Van der Straten, a very famous name in motor racing terms. And there goes down to the inside, Bert Longin trying to make a move on his team owner, Outfit Hager. And one thing you don't want to do, Bert, is take out the team boss.
No, very smart move that was to back him up.
He got himself almost alongside, but almost doesn't count in motor racing terms, doesn't it? And he tucks in behind and follows him round, and which maybe he's like a little bit quicker, Bert Longin at this stage in the proceedings. Interestingly to me, there's Michael Bartels there, car number 1, unable to make any impression at all on the 2 much newer team cars.
Yeah, quite surprising. Obviously, I don't know if Michael's struggling with something, but his speed is not as quick as probably we all expect. But those 2 cars in front of him, those 2 Maseratis, are obviously doing very well at the moment, racing each other as well, which is never an easy thing because you're sometimes holding each other up. But to be in front of Michael Bartels, I think is a fine job by those 2, and great for the team.
Yeah, absolutely right. And some great racing going on here. Meanwhile, at the front, we're told that the team manager, the team manager of car number 9 is to report to the race director immediately. It comes up on our screen here. In the meantime, Thomas Ackery in car number 9 still leading the race. In fact, last time around, a blindingly fast lap from him, 2 minutes 0.999, so just quicker than 2:01 as we see this Nissan Lamborghini battle developing. A great lap by Ackery. He pulls away by quite a margin. He was about 2 seconds quicker than Thomas Enger last time around, so he's absolutely put his foot down. We heard there was going to be a penalty served on car number 9. Clearly it's not come in to serve that penalty, and the team manager has been summoned to race control, John.
Not the best situation.
I guess if you're going to argue, you might as well make the argument earlier on, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Let's go down to the pit lane and Hayley Coxon.
Mark, Mike is out. Sadly, it looks like you are too. Mike is out, and it looks like you are too. Can you explain what's happened?
Yeah, and he got a big hit, and then he has to go into the mud. And as you can see in the car, we had no cooling anymore, and now the engine felt not very good anymore, and so I think it's broke. I got heavy vibrations into the car, and yeah, then we decided to stop the race before everything goes broke on the car. And so yeah, it's very disappointed, but that's it. And so we have to look to Bruno and then again be motivated and optimistic for the next race.
So the German driver Mark Henrici, they're explaining what happened to the number 13 car that he shared with Andreas Struber. An accident down there shortly after Struber took over behind the wheel after the pit stops. Now out of the race. And meanwhile, this battle here wages onwards between the Lamborghini and the Nissan. And in fact, I say rages onward. In fact, Jamie Campbell-Walters made up quite a bit of ground to catch up with Frank Ketchley in the Lamborghini, and he's pulled away from the car behind him, which had been the Maserati. And Jamie Campbell-Walters is absolutely flying in his car and really putting the pressure now on Frank Ketchley.
Yes, he's sort of, at the moment, last time around anyway, he was the second quickest car on the track, so he seems to be really hooked up. Jamie's very comfortable with the car, and you can see that he's really pushing him, and I don't think it'll be too long before he gets in front of that Lamborghini, but he won't make it easy for him.
There's a difference in the lap times between the cars on the last two laps. As you can see, Jamie Campbell-Walter made up 0.6 of a second on lap 21. He went up, as Johnny said, more than 1 second on lap 22. And as you can see now, he's hot on the tail of that Lamborghini. The Lamborghini versus the Nissan onto the hangar straight. What will be the outcome? Let's have a look.
Yeah, he's not going to be close enough on this occasion, but Jamie seems to be able to get quite close to him on the tricky technical parts of the track, which I think will give him a good opportunity to pass it a little bit further around on the new part of the Silverstone circuit.
Jamie Campbell-Walters certainly pulled well away from that number 2 Vitaphone Maserati. Has just been passed there also by Bert Longin. So Longin's on a bit of a charge. He got past his team owner, Hartmut Hager, who there Hager is gaining a position on Miguel Ramos. So Ramos clearly nothing like as quick as the former F1 driver Enrique Bernoldi, now slipping back through the order.
Yeah, it's a good little battle. I think that's, was it 5, 6, 7, and I think 8th position, something like that. So it's a good little battle we've got going on here, but we've also got a great battle at the front as well. He's not a happy chappy. Oh dear, Mr. Bartels.
He's not happy at all, is he? He's battling there. I think that's Xavier Masson, or Nicolas Armindo, I should say, the Frenchman, in front of him now in the Corvette, having made the pass.
Yeah, he made it up. Well, it was a big gesture going on from Michael. But anyway, it's part of racing. He shouldn't have time to stick his arm out the window. He should be having 2 hands on the wheel.
Who's number 1, do you think?
And there you go. See, this is where Jamie's very quick on this part of the section. This is the pit straight, and he seems to be very close there. Loses a little bit down towards the exit of Beckett's and down the hangar straight. But at the end of the day, he's pushing, and he's squeak. Good pass. Good pass.
I think that's the first time we've seen a clean pass into Copse Corner. Is it that Nissan is so quick around Luffield 1 and 2. He gets a run onto the start-finish straight, and he makes the pass. We've seen several times the Nissans, they're so good out of that corner, they can carry the speed down the straight, but they're not quite able to make the pass into Copse Corner. That time, however, Jamie Campbell-Walter able to do exactly that.
He was, and I have to say the Lamborghini was very smart as well. He didn't try to fight it. I think he'd seen for a couple of laps that Jamie's been much quicker than him. He gave him the space. I think he jerked her a little bit to the left to give him more space, and then through he went.
I believe the number 9 Aston Martin might have just been into the pits to serve its penalty. I'm looking at the scoring now, and its last lap around was a 2:05. It says 2 against the P at the end of the last column on the scoring page, which I believe is the number. Well, it is the number of pit stops. So unfortunately, the pit wall here is so high opposite our booth, we can't see cars going down the pit lane. But there is now, well, we're looking at car number 40, which is Maxime Martin, who is right behind one of the Aston Martins, and we believe that Thomas Ackley did finally serve that drive-through penalty. We're going to see where that drops him. He might, if he's lucky, still get out in second place.
Yeah, I think they had about 20-odd seconds gap between, so I think at the end of the day he should still do that. I think he should be fine.
So here comes Thomas Enger now into Copse Corner, our new race leader, with just 6 minutes and 45 seconds and counting to go. Here comes Thomas Ackley around Woodcote to complete lap 24, and yes, he is easily maintained that second place. He comes out about 17 seconds behind in second place. That is the Aston Martin team looking on there, and he's still well out in front of the third place car, which is Jamie Campbell-Walter now, who again has pulled out already quite a margin over Frank Ketchley in the Lamborghini.
Yeah, big time. I think he got held up for those few laps, and he looked so much quicker than Lamborghini, and obviously he was, and now he seems to be, with only 6 minutes to go, he's not really going to catch anything in front. Now he's just got to be smart, be comfortable, and get the car to the end of the race. It'll be a good third position for Jamie and the Sumo team.
And these guys, meanwhile, the number 17, the young driver AMR, Aston Martin DBR9 of Darren Turner started the race. Thomas Enger took over at the pit stops, a well-timed pit stop, and able then to turn some very quick laps on fresh tyres once he gets out into the fray, and able to make up some ground. And when the number 9 car served its penalty, into the lead went Thomas Enger in car number 7. Here again are the standings, and the Aston Martins at the front, 1 and 2. In third place, Jamie Campbell-Walter for Nissan. So Aston Martin, Nissan, Lamborghini in fourth place, with Frank Ketchley at the wheel right now. Then the two Maseratis, Longin and Margaritis. Seventh place now for Nicola Armindo in the best of the Corvette Z06's. Excellent job by him, having come from quite a long way back in the pack. Then surprisingly off the pace, Michael Bartels for Maserati. Farther down there, the number 2 Maserati, here it is on the screen, is going very, very slowly. Miguel Ramos has a punctured right rear tyre. That explains why he's been going slowly lately.
Absolutely, could have been a slow one just going down.
Clearly, judging by his pace, I'm surprised he didn't realise what the problem was and can bring it in earlier on, but whatever, he's going to cost an awful lot of time. Not going to make much difference. He's going to be out of contention now.
Oh, definitely. Well, he's got to get it back to the pits as well.
Going on there. That is car number 8, which is Christopher Nygaard. We saw him earlier in the GT3 race this afternoon, and he's having quite a battle at the moment with one of the Mad Croc Racing Corvettes is Nicola Armindo. So he's just made a pass actually as Nygaard.
Yeah, I think that Aston Martin is actually the quickest car on the track as we speak. So he started quite a long way down. I think he was right at the back of the grid. So he's actually forked up very, very well, and he's obviously the speed and that experience he had from that earlier race is paying dividends.
It's amazing actually. Yeah, Stefan Rooker started that car, as you said, at the back of the pack, and it's Christopher Nygaard at the wheel now, 24-year-old Dane from Kongens Lyngby, which I guess is just about an hour or so. Yeah, thank you. I've been looking at that this week. It's about an hour or so outside of Copenhagen, I believe. It's a young driver with relatively little experience, certainly in these GT1 cars. He's only had a couple of starts in these cars before this season, but judging by the way he's driving right now, you wouldn't know it.
No, absolutely. His pace, as I said, has been very, very good. And we've only got, 3 minutes to go. And we're in board here with Michael Bartels. This is the club section. We've got the gears, that sort of red. There you go, 3 as he puts his hand and pulls that gear stick. 4. And then there'll be 5 just as he goes into the Abbey curve, and he does 1 gear change down, and then it'll probably be a short gear shift about so he should be shifting anyway. That's a right surprise. He went all the way through. Oh, there you go. And this is the tight arena area. Very good opportunity to overtake on that first one. This left-hander is the slowest part of the circuit, 75 kilometers an hour, accelerating through, little kink onto that straight, Wellington straight, and now he's going to overtake the Corvette. Easily done.
Very on good action there, and then down to
not
the
as easy as I thought.
Xavier, as Nicola Armindo gives up the place there to Michael Bartels, so he finally jumped outboard of the car, and then he makes the pass. But that's a great battle, and right behind him too is Maxime Martin, the Belgian driver, at the wheel of that Mark VDS Racing Ford GT.
A beautiful car, and actually they've done very well as well. They were on row 8 at the start of this race as well. So this is the first time a bit of contact there, an optimistic move. As I said, it's very difficult to overtake a car there because you're going so fast, and if you're not side by side, this is the instance that you're going to see.
We've only seen one successful overtaking opportunity, I think, there all weekend long, and that was Jamie Campbell-Walter.
You see him pull out very, very late, and he's just not really there. You see, he clips the back of his car, so he's nowhere near. He hasn't got any damage on his car. A little bit of rubber on that nose of that full GT, but that number 11 Corvette, unfortunately, is doing the long way round, but not his fault, because I don't think that full GT should have stuck his nose where he did at that point.
I think talking to there, I think, for the full GT driver Maxime Martin, a good effort there, I think, by Nicola Armindo, he has no experience in GT cars prior to this weekend. He's a Porsche Cup driver in the past. He does a great job of getting it through that gravel trap and getting it turned around. There's a little bit of a short grass strip the other side of the gravel, and then you can maybe get around and rejoin the race without hitting anything too hard.
No, absolutely, because that speed of that corner is about 170 odd kilometres an hour, so it's a pretty quick corner.
We're looking there at Bert Longin, who's made up a lot of ground. He's still in 5th place now, but right ahead of him, that Lamborghini of Frank Ketchley. And as this race has worn on, I think the Lamborghini is using up its tyres. I think he's struggling a little bit now for grip in the corners. Yeah, you can see that Bert Longin really makes a lot of ground going into Brooklands.
Yeah, well, and this is where those tyres will make a big difference, because it's such a slow technical part of the track, and you need those tyres to give you traction to come out. But he's definitely struggling a little bit, Jeremy.
Yeah, we're on the final lap of the race, so they will start the final lap. The race leader, who is Thomas Enger, is part way around the final lap, but this battle rages on for 4th and 5th place. Useful championship points, of course. You get to 12 points for 4th place, 10 points for 5th, and at the end of the season, every point counts. This battle rages, they're coming through the Beckett's complex, and it's important to score as many points as you can, as often as you can, isn't it? It's crucial.
It definitely is, and the number 8 Aston Martin that started at the very back of the grid, he's just done his personal best over 2 minutes and 8, and he's up to 7th.
Yeah, might be up to 6th now. He's challenging. Here he is on the outside coming down into the Stowe corner. Christopher Nygaard, a brilliant drive by he and Stefan Mucker. Yeah, the Aston Martins are strong this weekend, but great driving by those two to come from the back. Well, right up into comfortably inside the top 10.
Yeah, and he's got a chance here. You never know, because this Lamborghini is holding up the 34 Maserati. He might just get on the back of him as they go into that last section of Brooklyn and Lovefield. And here is the leader, Thomas Enger.
Going down into Brooklands for the final time. Thomas Enger, he's taken over the car from Darren Turner. The local driver lives just a few miles away from here, from Silverstone. Thomas Enger, he's done a lot of racing here in the past. You can see how delighted the car.
Showboating.
He's always a showman, is Thomas Enger. He puts the power down coming out of Lovefield, and across the line he goes to take the checkered flag. A wonderful performance by Aston Martin, the young driver AMR team, and Darren Turner, the homeboy, and Thomas Enger come away with a magnificent victory. In 2nd place will be the second of the Aston Martins, the Hexis AMR team of Thomas Ackery and Frederick Makowicki, and here is this battle still going on behind.
And he may get one more position on this line. The last corner, he nearly made it around Brooklyn. He's right behind the Maserati. He's not going to quite work there, but great drive.
Excellent performance. It's Jamie Campbell-Walter and Warren Hughes, a magnificent 3rd place finish for the two British drivers in the British Sumo Power GT Nissan, making its 2nd start in the championship here in proper race spec. Frank Ketchley in the Lamborghini just holds on in 4th place. The Maserati of Bert Longin in 5th, and Christopher Nygaard from the back of the grid to 6th place in the second of the young driver AMR Aston Martins. Magnificent performance. Alfred Hager, I know he's going to be delighted with a 7th place finish. Michael Bartels and Andrea Bertolini in the 3-time championship winning Vitaphone Maserati. They have to be content with an 8th place. Maxime Martin Baslanders, 9th for Ford, the Mark VDS racing team. And then the best of the Swiss racing Nissans, that is Seiji Ara and Max Nilsson, rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, I think that was a great drive from everybody. We had a lot of guys that started a long way back, especially that number 8 Aston Martin finishing in 6th position. Brilliant race from them. It was great to see the GT40 finally seeing that get itself into the top 10. So I think overall Aston Martin, they've had a wonderful weekend.
And so has Nissan too. I mean, hats off to those guys. This is just the second race. There is Jamie Campbell-Walter there right behind Thomas Enger waving to the crowd, and Jamie, so that was a great performance by him. I mean, they don't have a lot of seat time in those cars, a brand new team. They did manage to get several days of testing before the first round in Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks ago, but still it's a team that's still learning the ropes here in GT1 racing, and to come away with a podium finish in just their 2nd championship race is an exceptional effort, which I know they will be justly proud of.
Yeah, but then Thomas is doing, I do a donut.
We're allowed to do donuts in FIA racing.
I'm not quite sure, probably not.
But anyhow, he's drifted. Super job. I mean, he is a showman. He's a great driver. He was a single-seater star back in the late 90s, but since then he's made his career in sports car and GT racing. And this, I think, Thomas will rank among his better victories. He has actually never won a GT1 race in the past, at least not in the in this championship. He's won them in the Le Mans Sports Car Series, but not in the GT1 Championship, and this was certainly an excellent performance. I mean, Darren Turner set the scene. They both made mistakes yesterday. Today, no, they weren't going to make those mistakes again, Johnny, were they?
No, I'm glad to say they did learn from their mistakes from yesterday. But these two, there he is, still showboating, little show. Ah, there you go. See, he's crossed the line. There you go. He's off.
He's not going to pedal. That's exactly what he did yesterday.
Exactly. That was an interesting shot, because that's exactly what you're not supposed to do during the race, because you have those lines. You've got to stay within those lines. But going back, they are Darren and Thomas. I think they are the strongest package in this championship at the moment. And of course, the Aston Martin is going very well for them as well, and they utilised it and they won today.
Darren Turner, a former winner of the McLaren Autosport BRDC award, is awarded here at Silverstone, and to two British teams here on the podium for the Aston Martins and Sumo Power GT. So a great, I think, race for the home crowd here at Silverstone. A great race as well. There is the race-winning car. Thomas saying is justifiably delighted with his afternoon's work. He knew he had a point to prove coming into this day, as did his teammate Darren Turner, having made the mistakes yesterday. You can see the delight there from the crew, and they've thoroughly earned this victory.
Yeah, they have, and of course they had their problems yesterday, and this is a nice payback. There's Darren Turner, his teammate, a great payback for the team.
Congratulations, Darren.
Thank you.
A home win for you in the Aston Martin.
Amazing by the team. They did a great job both races with the pit stops, and that really helped. And Thomas was, sterling in the second part of the race. So it was tricky conditions out there, I think, with a lot of mud and debris everywhere. But kept it on the island, was mega fast, and that's just nice to win the Tourist Trophy. Fantastic.
Congratulations, Thomas.
Well, a home race for Darren, a home race for Aston Martin, and nearly home race for me as well. So we are all very happy. Fantastic car, fantastic team, and let's keep going like this, and hopefully win more races this year.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, the victory in this race means a lot to both of these guys. They know how historic this Tourist Trophy is. It was first held in 1905 in the Isle of Man. It's the longest running trophy in all of motorsports. There's Dave Richards in the middle there. He's the boss of ProDrive that builds these Aston Martins, amongst other cars, and these two drivers have been with David Richards for a long time. We're going to try and get a word with David if we can. He's run some teams in Formula One, but it's primarily in rallying and GT1 racing that he has had the most success in recent years, and he's put together a super organisation. They're based over in Banbury, as I said, in Oxfordshire, not too far away from here at Silverstone, and so I know for David Richards also to win here at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, is exactly what he needed. Let's have a look at the results. 28 laps completed. Aston Martin won 2. Tremendous performance. The two different teams there. The British-based team, or kind of British-German-based team, Young Driver AMR, Hexis AMR in second place with Fred Makawecki and Thomas Ackery. The brand new Sumo Power G team based in Rye in Sussex, Warren Hughes and Jamie Campbell-Walter come away with a magnificent third place finish. Jos Menton from Holland, Frank Ketchley from Germany in the Lamborghini team. That's a good effort too, in fourth place. Triple H team Hager Sport Car, Matteo Bobby and Bert Longin, the Maserati in fifth place. Best of the Maseratis, ahead of Stefan Booker and Christian Nygaard, all the way up from the back of the field in the second of the Young Driver Aston Martins. The second of the Hager Sport Cars, Alfred Hager and Alex Margaritis in seventh place. Then the second of the Vitaphone Maseratis, well, the first of them this weekend because the number 2 guy had problems in the closing stages. Andrea Bertolini and Michael Bartels finishing 8th ahead of Baz Lenders and Maxime Martin in the first of the Ford GTs. Seiji Ara and Max Nielsen for the Swiss racing team Nissan round out the top 10. More Aston Martins. The second of the Aston Martins had problems there. Jonathan Hirschi and Clivio Piccioni. Schuaga and Pastorelli for Lamborghini. Then the Oliver Gavin, Bertie Kuzmine and Mad Croc Racing Corvette having some problems in the late stages after a great early effort by Oliver Gavin. And rounding out the field, Christophe Beauchou, Marc Basseng in one of the all-Incal Lamborghini Murcielagos. And then right at the back, the two cars that didn't really take much of running this afternoon. Romain Grosjean in the Ford GT out on the very first lap. But a thoroughly entertaining contest, Johnny. And we're going to be getting ready here for, I think, would be a pretty joyful podium celebration.
I think so. I think it's overall been a great result, a great weekend for GT1 World Championship, and I think it's going to looking forward to the year. So there's the third position, and here is the second position, the Aston Martin team of
Fred Makowiecki and Thomas Ackley. What a wonderful weekend it has been for those guys, particularly for Fred Makowiecki. 3 podiums over the weekend in GT3 and in GT1. That is an amazing performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is the experience that these guys need to take it on to these 2 race winners here. Yeah, Thomas still playing around, but these guys have done a marvellous job this weekend.
German national anthem there in honor of the team owner for the young driver AMR team. That is Erhard Fischer, the team based in Germany but has a lot of English roots as well. The car's built just down the road, and that English and Czech Republic driver finished in first place. The trophies there for Jamie Campbell, Walter and Warren Hughes in the centre of the screen briefly. Second place, the French team and the French drivers, Thomas Ackery and Fred Makowiecki, and the winning trophies to Thomas Enger and Darren Turner. Tremendous effort, and again, this Tourist Trophy, just there's so much history here, and it means a lot to those guys. It's a gorgeous trophy. You can see it there standing on the podium that is kept at the RAC in Pall Mall all the way through the season. It's been won so many times in the past, dates back all the way to 1905. It means an awful lot to get your hands on that trophy. Sterling Moss, some of the greats in the sport have won that trophy. Sterling Moss won it 7 times. Tazio Nubilavi won it a couple of times back in the 30s. So it's an enormous amount of history, and that's not lost on people like Darren Turner and Thomas Enger.
No, not at all. I think they're worthy winners. I think they've had a great weekend. I'm sure Darren especially is pleased to win that trophy. It's a wonderful trophy, as you can see. But it's been a great weekend. I think the FIA GT1 World Championship has been a very exciting race to watch, and I think these drivers obviously have enjoyed it as they're enjoying the champagne.
Thomas was a bit slow on the uptake there with the champagne. He was the last to reach for his bottle. I think almost grabbed it before they went up onto the podium. He's going to make up for his lost time now. There's Warren Hughes. Great for Warren. He's a real grafter, that young man. He's worked so hard over the years to get a career. Does not come from a particularly privileged background, other than the fact he's privileged to drive a racing car for his living, and he is very grateful for that. And it's super to see someone like that. The perseverance pays off, and you get to this sort of level. There he is again, and he's going to make use of every moment up there on this victory podium at the home of British motorsport. I'm not sure whether the cameraman's going to be terribly happy with that, but I think I'll probably get a new lens and hope that the rest of it will be undercover. It didn't rain here like it was supposed to earlier on in the weekend, but Johnny, hats off to these guys. What a great performance that was, and it's been a tremendous weekend all around, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and I think, you know, Thomas, still playing around, but it's been great. I think these guys are very happy with the way that the circuit has turned out, and I think they've really shown a great race for us.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from today's race. This could last for quite a long time, this highlight package. But it was, you know, we've had a super scene set here at Silverstone during the morning. We had the qualifying race yesterday to set the grid for today's race. 1 hour of competition. We've seen the 6 different manufacturers getting ready to do battle, and away from the start of the race, it was the Aston Martins at the front doing well, not so well at the back. Romain Grosjean, apparent suspension failure on the Ford GT. He goes spinning out even before the first corner. Problems also for the Corvette there of Mike Hazelman. That goes up in flames. Various problems in the pits also, but not as many as yesterday.
Yeah, which was great. I think that everybody learned from the mistakes that mainly the 2 winning drivers of today made, and I think it was great because it made the racing like this type of racing absolutely brilliant to watch.
And there's a look at the number 12 car whistling off into the gravel trap. Petr Kuzmanin, I guess that was, in the latter stages, having taken over from Oliver Gavin. A bit of an optimistic move that looked like, but some wonderful battling between the various manufacturers and some big accidents as well. There is one of the Nissans going heavily into the barriers. I think that was Henry Moser, who'd just taken over the wheel of that car from Carl Wendlinger. But it's been an exciting day. Aston Martins, though, they've looked very strong indeed.
They've looked very, very strong. You know, they struggled a little bit in Abu Dhabi. A little bit of work has gone into the development of the car. They've obviously had a little bit of fortune with the weight that they've been given and the air restrictor as well, but they used it to their advantage and they came out with a very successful weekend.
It's certainly Darren Turner watching from the pit wall in the closing stages as Thomas Enger completes the celebratory lap there for the young driver AMR team, and a victory kiss there for Darren Turner. It's a wonderful performance by those teams. My name is Jeremy Shaw. I've been joined by Johnny Herbert. Super to have you with me. Thanks for joining us for round 2 of the FIA GT1 World Championship.